Okay, that's good. Just look pretty and shut up, Fred. Just kidding.
I mean, that honestly is why I want equality. So I have to, like, I can do even less as a man.
Do less.
Yeah.
You should pitch
Right.
that to other men. Equality means you get to.
I've tried. I've tried.
I think equality means we get to do less, Fred. I think you have the opposite.
No, because you guys have to run things and stuff. I'm just, I'm trying to get signed on as a house husband.
Fred, we're already running things. We just don't get paid for it.
I know that, but here's the thing. If you guys are actually in charge, you'll make things better, and like, I'll have more PlayStation time. See, this is the plan.
That's true.
Right?
That's a good plan. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Valid. Yeah. Fine.
Yeah. If there's more women running things, I get more plays. I think that's how it works out. I'm a man. I don't know. I don't do math. Like,
I do.
don't worry about that stuff.
Don't worry, critical head, honey. It's fine.
Right. I lift weights. I just want to look pretty and, like, just be at home and supportive.
I did notice that you got your beard trimmed, Fred.
I did.
You did. I know.
I know.
Yeah.
I that's like my spa day is to get, is to go get a haircut and a beard trim,
Yeah, shaving a haircut.
That's it. So Carolyn, we started a tradition with Larissa and I, as she finds the most mom blouse or outfit that she can. Awesome. Because I made an offhanded comment one time, and now it's a thing. And
now it's a thing.
And you pointed out that is your Saved by the Bell blouse.
It's my Saved by the Bell shirt. So now we're going for the full reveal, everybody.
I love it. It's very
80s. All the shapes from Saved by the Bell. Of course, the original. When they have the opening credits and, like, they have the names of the actions of the shapes, like, pop up. These, I believe, are those shapes.
The nostalgia is overwhelming me at this point. Like, I don't even know what to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's okay. We'll take care of it. It's fine, as previously discussed.
I mean, listen, we've got to laugh at some things. We've got to have, because, this week has been a year, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, we've had the SAVE Act move forward in the Senate. Yeah. Yeah. And then
Murkowski and Susan Collins.
Was it both of them? Was it both?
Susan Collins.
Girl, you stabbed me in the back years ago, and now you're just twisting it. Like, what?
But that's what they're there for, man. Is and Carolyn and Larissa, this is your first time together, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I know you, Caroline, because I read you all the time, and I love your posts. I was just reading your post about Epstein and Hitler, and their similarities in terms of their impotence. So,
wow.
This isn't just tawdry details. This means the whole FBI stance when Kash Patel gets up there and says he trafficked girls to himself. How? He can't even get it up. So how's he trafficking girls to himself?
Right. And for what?
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what? I missed that, but that absolutely tracks. Because that would have been before Viagra was a thing, right?
No, he was using Viagra. That's all in the file. I did a deep dive on his medical background. I mean, he had a constant. So I don't know if you guys are aware of the rich and famous, but they don't go through the regular medical system. They go through concierge. One of my friends is actually putting together a concierge team for one of his rich clients right now. So they get on a whole concierge of private doctors, and it's not put through insurance. Like, they're very adamant about this, that they don't want their medical information because they don't, deep state and all that. They don't trust it. So they have these concierge teams of doctors who work under the radar for them. But of course, it was fascinating to me to see a client like Epstein, who has this team of doctors, and they're trying to diagnose a condition. It's a congenital condition he has, and they can't figure it out. And it's not until 4 months before he dies that there's a letter in his files, because one of his doctors gets fired due to his own sexual miscreant behavior, and he is transferred to another position. And the doctor says in the letter, basically, we'll take care of you in your Klinefelter syndrome. And Klinefelter syndrome it's very rare. It's a congenital disorder, but it basically causes low testosterone, not all your life, but at a certain point, it's the XY versus the XY syndrome, chromosomal abnormality. So Epstein had this for a lot, probably, went undiagnosed, as most men are. Like 75% are undiagnosed with this rare congenital condition. Hitler had a very similar condition called Conlon syndrome, which also causes the same thing: a micropenis, really small testes, and low T. And that's not to say you can't have
listening. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not to say you can't have sex with low T, and you can get an erection, but you will need help, like with Viagra and stuff. The problem is Epstein's triglycerides and heart were off the charts, so Viagra became not an option after a given amount of time because it was dangerous. And his triglycerides were like at 1100 at one point. At that point, you are basically like tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. So, of course, his physicians are treating him with Clomid, which basically is kind of an off-label medicine used. It's basically an estrogen intaker. So it increases the testosterone, while the belief is that it will suppress the estrogen. It doesn't always, but that was the belief in his case. So he's on Clomid for a decade. And one point he says to his doctor, low T for 10 years, So I look at that, and I know it sounds like I'm just digging up salacious details about a monster, but it actually matters because it hinges on their whole argument. And I can't believe they made this argument, but you guys saw when Kash Patel was on the stand, he said there's no proof that Epstein trafficked any of these girls to his friends. Yeah. And I was like, flames were shooting out of my head. And I'm like, oh, really? So that's when I started to dig into his medical file. And there's just no way someone with that, his testosterone was at 125, hovered around 125 for about 10 years, had very low circulating testosterone too. Forgive me if I get too geeky because I'm a science writer. So at 125, you can maintain erection maybe with some help, but it's difficult. So there's no way he's sampling the products. He's getting these women in for, it's a sex trafficking. I mean, I know, I'm stating the obvious, but for Kash Patel to get up there and say he was trafficking these girls to just himself should make everybody enraged because it is such a bold-faced lie.
Right. And I think there's ample evidence to prove that he was trafficking these girls despite his medical condition, right? But that's just sort of the last nail in the coffin of that argument. But I mean, of course it makes my hair on fire, but just the capacity for these people to lie, right? And their purpose for lying. They need 30% of the American populace to believe them or be so confused that they don't know what to do, right? That's the purpose of their lie, not to even create like a believable narrative, but just to confuse and obfuscate so that we have to spend time saying, no, you're lying. And then we have already sort of, as a society, moved on, and what they have said is true. I mean, it's really difficult to scream the truth as loud as they scream their lies. But I guess that's our job in a lot of ways. But of course, exposing their lies is as important. And I did want to talk about Jeffrey Epstein today, Fred, because another really important thing came out, right, which I don't think is getting as much attention. And I'm curious to know if either of you or anybody on the chat has opinions about this because, right, New Mexico, the New Mexico DOJ is renewing its inquiry into Zorro Ranch, what's going on there with Jeffrey Epstein. And the governor, Michelle Grisham, who's like my crush, of course, gave this the green light and is offering her full support. For people who don't know who Michelle Grisham is, she's an incredible governor. She's a Democrat. She also just signed into law, paid the free child care in New Mexico. So this is like a landslide moment for women's rights. But of course, and Carolyn, you can speak to this, I think, more knowledgeably than I can, but right in the past, you had two avenues for prosecuting Epstein and his enablers, the people who, were part of the sex trafficking ring. One of them was the Florida DOJ, right where this was happening in Palm Beach. And the second was through the federal DOJ. But if crimes are found to be happened at Zorro Ranch, New Mexico, could not then the the New Mexico DOJ bring suit against these alleged sex criminals? Like, is that a possibility? I'm curious. I don't know. I'm not a legal expert.
I mean, I'm not a legal expert either, but if Florida really dropped the ball, so did New York. So why the hell not? I mean, They need to dig. Someone needs to get. We're asking for someone to get a shovel. This won't really take
literally.
That much
they
resources.
Have dead bodies there. They buried girls who died there.
Multiple FBI intakes are in those files saying, listen, there's bodies at Zorro Ranch, and we're not asking for this detailed. Get a few dogs, a shovel, get out there. This isn't, and I want to address your point you said earlier about the 30% and how they will never accept it. That is true, and we need to not waste our time there. But as much their strength is in repetition, and we need to get in their faces and repeat it constantly. These are pedophiles. These are monsters you're supporting. Just keep repeating it. The big lie, they want to repeat their big lie over and over again. We need to be consistent in our message. Pedophiles, 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 over and over and over again until it becomes shameful to vote for Republicans. Because I am so tired of the 30% controlling this country. You know what? Like, Plato might have been right. Maybe they shouldn't vote, because if you're going to be so stupid and naive to believe that these monsters should be in power, maybe you shouldn't have the right to vote. So we need to get into their faces constantly. Yeah. Just keep saying it.
I'd give you I love the passion. I'd give you a round of applause. I'm also going to give you a round of applause for the Plato's Republic reference, which was nice. So that's the kind of shit we have on here.
You guys, you caught me on like a really angry day today, because after the last few weeks going to, a lot of us are angry. I'm sure you are, Larissa, too. Like this you go through. I mean, there's baby eating in there. I mean, sure, maybe it's conspiracy. You know what's so hilarious to me? Snopes, who tries to disprove everything. I love Snopes because I'm not a conspiracy theorist myself. I love knocking down conspiracy theorists, because most of the time they can be knocked down. But even Snopes to the cannibalism was like, yeah,
maybe
I'm verified.
That's the shocking thing to me, because I'm right there with you. Like, I was always one of these people of no, it's, there's not this grand conspiracy. There's not this. It's just, very simple and, very much trying to apply Occam's razor. And now I'm just like, oh, wow, it may be just an international cabal of baby eating pedophiles. Like,
apparently
okay.
It is. Apparently
okay.
It is. Yeah.
Wow. And it's just, and we're just over here like, it was time to move on. I'm like, no, I will be a pain in the ass everywhere I can be until we do something about this, for the rest of my life.
To the point about the 30% and the more than 30%, right? Well, actually just the 30%, because only 30% of Americans, 33% of Americans voted for Donald Trump and his pedophile baby eating cabal. It was, 30% didn't vote, and then 33% voted for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And so, but I think, those who voted for Trump and were like, maybe not the dyed in the, not the dyed in the cloth, and those who didn't vote, right? I think there's a sense of white male patriarchy has always been how we've gotten our bread and bought our eggs. We're worried about overturning the apple cart. Can we still have our bread and eggs with the system that we know? And now it's becoming very apparent that you can't, this is not sustainable. We have reached the end of the viability of white male patriarchy. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's happening at the grocery store, right? It's not like existential, it's not intellectual. It's I literally cannot afford my groceries anymore. And not only that, but I can't afford them because of apparently an illegal action by the president of the United States. So I think to your point, Carolyn, like when we're talking about getting these people's spaces, you know, I think that message is finally getting through with the massive shifts in
Mhm.
the special elections that we've been seeing, which to me are very heartening. And I haven't dug into the voter data. I'm wondering if you have, Fred. But is that massive shift from unlikely voters or not continual voters, or is that from continual voters who are changing their votes from one side to the other? I should look into that. I'm going to make a note.
I think from the discussions I've had with some of my friends that kind of do these deep dives into that data, it seems from continual voters that are, for whatever reason, thought they would be part of a Trump coalition. So you're seeing that with Hispanic and Latino voters,
Yeah.
not all, but some demographics that voted for the economy. Like Texas is really freaking out about that because they diluted, they split up these really heavy Democratic gerrymandered districts
Mm-hmm.
with, that like, oh, we're going to dilute that district and then we're going to win. And so we're going to get more seats. The problem is you're counting on the last election with heavy Hispanic turnout, which Texas is more Hispanic now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a white minority. It will be a white minority state by 2030 if demographic trends hold.
Yeah. I would say
So
latest.
yeah, that's why they're talking about like re-immigration, and they're
Right.
really cracking down with ICE, and they're doing this ironically, and again, you would think that, and this is kind of how weak their fascism is because they're doing this from a standpoint of retribution from Trump for states that didn't vote for him. It's not really going to help them out in states that are sort of on the cusp, like Texas, right?
Mm.
But because I think there was like an association of construction businesses that went to DC and basically told Republican lawmakers like, "Hey, you're screwing up our workforce
Yeah.
in South Texas. We can't, like, they're not showing up to work, and they're not coming on this, they're not coming on the jobs." And what a lot of people don't realize is we're not, for that work, you're not talking about just like unskilled labor. You're talking about people that, like a roofer or someone who works construction or concrete or those jobs, they're skilled labor. They're not easily replaced. Like you can't just go to, like, hey, we're going to get some people and throw them in there.
Yeah, you can't
I
just
mean,
go to your local high school and say, "Hey guys, hey white guys, here I have a job for you." That's not how it works. They have to to my knowledge, right? It's not like an apprenticeship program like it traditionally is when in the unions, but it is like a generational apprenticeship program where they work with their fathers, uncles, just older brothers. They learn the
yeah,
skill and then they bring that skill. And we don't even have the pipeline of apprenticeship within the unions anymore to replace these workers. It's gonna be actually, right, I don't want to say generational, but years long, decade long problem to replace the workers that we've lost right at the time when we have, a housing shortage. In the city where I live, they're building a new police station. You go down there, and half of the time, there's no work being done on it because
right.
there are no workers to do that work. They just don't wanna show up. They're worried about ICE coming. They're worried about being deported. and it's just like, if you can't even get the cop shop built, as my mom calls it, as a reporter in her early days, then how are you gonna get your house built,
Exactly.
So
And I mean, and uh, just even you look at other professions that we've been knocking down for a long time, like teachers.
nurses.
Yeah, the nurse. Well, they're not professionals anymore.
Oh,
So
that's right. Sorry, I forgot.
Gone.
yeah, they're no longer professionals, so they don't
You
matter.
know, they saved our asses during COVID. This is how we think.
Yeah.
Well, and the crazy thing to me with that is, and it, I mean, you talk about this visceral hatred of women, uh, because, and especially, immigrant women, women of color, you've got an aging population, and I mean, not just baby boomers, but now Gen X is getting up there, right?
Yeah.
Which Gen X men swung for Trump in this last election. Who do you think is going to take care of you?
Right.
You know,
Your
like
answer is no.
I mean, I'm on the younger end of Gen X, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm 2 years into the divide, and I'm 49, and I feel every bit of 49 years old.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't have low T problems like Jeffrey Epstein apparently
For
did.
instance.
You know, and I'm not saying that as a brag, but even still, I get in the gym and I'm like, "Phew, I can't go like these youngies, man." I can't do it anymore. And so I'm starting to feel the weight of that. I can't imagine somebody who's approaching 60,
Right.
and you're cutting the people that are going to take care of you, that are going to provide medical services. It boggles I mean, it really, really boggles my mind.
Fred,
Yeah.
it's like they belong to a death cult.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, you guys saw about the pesticides today.
oh my
Yesterday.
God, yeah.
I mean, like, come on. Like, let's make America cancer again.
I mean, I think it is. I think it's funny because I posted a still of Kid Rock and RFK Jr. working out in a sauna,
So
right?
gross.
I saw
Where
that.
they
I saw
actually they
that. That
put
was
in like
great.
Right.
the
Right.
they put in the airfoil bike in a sauna, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And RFK Jr. is wearing freaking jeans because I guess like yeah, I mean if you snort coke up a toilet seat, sure,
Yeah. That
and
makes sense in
uh,
that, yeah, if you're snorting coke off a toilet seat, then yes, wearing
yeah,
jeans on a
you're gonna make those decisions. You are absolutely gonna make.
And brag about it and tell
Yeah.
people
Right.
you're snorting.
But again, there were guys in the comments on that note that said, he's pretty buff for his age. And I'm like, really? That's your takeaway? Like, that's your takeaway.
And
He's
also,
buff
why
for his
would you
age.
that is an undoctored photo? Like, why would you believe that? I mean, I think that was 100% AI generated, and if it
Oh,
wasn't,
I didn't even think of that. You're right.
yeah,
But this is the thing that kills me with masculinity, and I'll and I think why women are getting ahead is that's the takeaway. Not the fact that he's a lunatic, not the fact that he's done all these things that have like it's like, okay, let's get into I don't know what these steroids are doing to his internal organs, which has been shown to age people. It's been shown to like I've got friends that were young and got into bodybuilding and did all kinds of gear, right? Like, tren, anabolic steroids, and like one friend of mine is 15 years younger than me. He has heart problems, liver
yeah,
problems, kidney problems. I don't have any of that because I never did that stuff. It
right,
just wasn't part of the culture for me growing up, you know. And, again, we had a reference to Plato's Republic. And, eh, you don't have that with men. It's like, oh, he looks buff. But he's a moron. Like he's
yeah.
crazy, right? Where are your value? And that's what's killing me with men. Like, and so I want to get you guys' take on it. Is like, do we need the matriarchy to, to like, because apparently we've all gone like most of my side of the fence has gone stupid, and it's making me and it's infuriating me. You know,
Go ahead, Gary.
that's really all I have for that.
I like, wait, I don't want to. Fred, you are a better role model for men than Larissa and I are ever going. We really, it it's not the place of women to be lecturing men because men are actually in a really tough space right now. I mean,
Yeah.
you see the depression rates, you see the suicide rates. The only aspect of men's lives is that they're missing these strong role models. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but women can provide a role model in other aspects of their lives, but they need strong male role models. And your point about RFK and their takeaway is that he's buff, when it should be that he's an idiot, it also should be that he's unkind. His family has, I mean, not to be morally judgmental, but I'm going to be a little self-righteous here. This is a man who has proven over and over again that he's unkind. I look at him and my ovaries drop out. My estrogen goes down. Like, this guy is ugly to me.
Yeah.
And the thing that men need to understand is most healthy women, when they are choosing a partner, they are choosing up. And I say this and they don't believe me. So that's why I need you to say it. Because women, they choose a man based on intelligence, on kindness. Height doesn't matter. Dick size doesn't matter. We don't care about that shit. We just want someone, who's kind, loving, and has brain cells in his head and, big brain. But when women tell men that, they just don't, especially young men, they're not believing us.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I think part of that is because there is the classic model of divide and conquer set up between men and women. That's the same that's set up between workers and black people, white people, brown
Yep.
people, Asian people, where this is an antagonistic relationship. And while I do think that men need positive role models like Fred, and I do mean that sincerely, Fred, I think that women can make a better case as to why solidarity with women is beneficial to men. Um, and and as to us as well. And I think that's something that we could reinvest in. And it's not about acquiescing or making ourselves more palatable or interesting to men, but simply by building strategic bridges, right? And I say this
Mhm.
often, but I think about the suffragists, right? And what did the suffragists had to have to do? They had to convince male voters, who are the only voters, that enfranchising women was actually to their benefit, right? And there were a lot of political and corporate interests invested heavily, right, hand over fist in keeping men and women divided. And yet it was a community of women
Mm.
over generations who bridged that divide through insisting that fierce solidarity was beneficial to all people, regardless of race, creed, color, or gender. And I think that's something that women are particularly skilled at doing because that's one of our means of survival, right? Is convincing people that help, like, being in solidarity with us instead of at war with us is to everyone's benefit. And I think that's something that I, as a mom of two boys, and as a sort of super cis white woman married to a man, practice in my everyday life, that gender equality benefits everybody. And I think that's something that I would love for all of us to, as sort of feminists, in this space, to think about and try and practice. Though I do agree with you, Carolyn. Absolutely, we need more positive male role models, and to celebrate them, right? Because I think
Yeah.
we do that more.
Well, I say the matriarchy, like, very tongue in cheek, and I'm very much like in line with equality, but especially like for men trying to figure this out, the I think the problem we have nowadays is we're very much like young men, especially, are focused on this sort this sort of immediate, like, basically the visual, and that's it. It's not any deeper than that.
Mm.
Because by getting yourself an education, by like, I there inevitably, and I'll kind of go on a tangent here. Every time I post something about that, like, take going after Nick Fuentes or somebody else, there's always some jackass with a Roman name that pops up and starts giving me crap. And that's a big thing on that side of the fence, but they don't study that, like, they're not reading Plato's The Republic and having an in-deep discussion about it. They're not talking about, the Roman Empire or really any of the classics, or basically they're definitely not reading anything by Cicero.
Yeah.
You know,
I
like
mean,
not.
why? Okay, so let's take a militaristic like lens to this. Why is the military so successful at recruiting young men? Is it because they're better at fighting? Is it because they're stronger? No, not necessarily. It's because their prefrontal cortexes don't develop until their late 20s, whereas it develops much more quickly in women. And therefore, we have more problem solving capacity, and also our ability to question authority it develops more quickly, right? And so now let's then move this towards the brainwashing machine that's been developed by tech companies. And then let's invest billions and billions and billions of dollars on that, and then unleash it without any kind of regulation on young boys and young men who do not have critical thinking capacity. And then let's see what happens. Oh,
Yeah.
suicide, increased date rape, depression, substance abuse. So it's really a question of, I hate to use this term because it sounds like bombastic, but a dereliction of duty by the U.S. Congress, Senate, Supreme Court, and Oval Office, that they decided to have absolutely no regulations on this new technology with unknown consequences, which we are just beginning to feel among particularly young men. And it is absolutely terrifying and just so sad to see it happening on so many different levels to everybody cross class.
Yeah, and I mean, to the point Carolyn brought up about Jeffrey Epstein's or impotence, is why that's relevant, is because these people, Elon Musk or Donald Trump, even Bezos, when he started to do steroids and he remarried Lauren, or he got married to Lauren Sanchez, and or Mark Zuckerberg when he had his MMA phase, when he's or you look at Putin when he's riding on a horseback shirtless, or he's doing judo or something like that. There's this kind of show virility among in that side of masculinity. And I think, like, exposing that, where it's like, no, these guys are just like, they're covering for something, or they're covering for their own inadequacies. Yeah, it's you're not devoting your time to things that are actually going to give you a better life by educating yourself, being intelligent, working on compassion and kindness, like doing these things that are going to get you the things that you want. And I think that's the biggest failing with men. And to your point, I said this in a live yesterday, where with social media, we haven't quite figured it out yet. Like, we're just playing around with it. It's still new. We're starting to now feel the long-term consequences of this unregulated tool.
Yeah.
It's done some good things, and it's absolutely exposed things and helped us. I mean, what we're doing right now, but it also has led to some really bad things. And the problematic part is with Mark Zuckerberg, who he got deposed in court because of, oh yeah, we're going to push this horrible stuff on teenage girls and give them all complexes because they'll engage with it.
Yeah.
And so,
and it'll make us money. Money, 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 money. That's the most important thing. Money, not life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Money.
money.
Yeah. I mean, this went kind of under the radar, but they're destroying the humanities programs. They're taking philosophy, women's studies is no longer a degree that will get funding anymore. That one kind of went under the radar, and I didn't see a lot of people talking about it. But you guys understand why they're destroying the humanities. I mean, why teach about the Plato's Republic if you want to keep a republic? They don't want to keep a republic. That's why they're destroying the nursing degrees and the women's studies and philosophy. You speak to people in Europe, they get all this education. Their high school education is now as good as our college education. And until we start putting the humanities back into our college program, young men are going to struggle, and young women.
Yeah. No. Good.
Yeah, you go ahead, Fred.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's, they're no longer trying to slide this under the radar. I saw this, it was there was a meme that kinda hit for 5 seconds, on, because unfortunately with Facebook, I kinda just use it as a right-wing aggregator. Because if you talk about Trump and it doesn't matter what the way is, it's like, "Would you like to see all this other stuff? You're a middle-aged man, here you go."
Yeah.
And so they were saying, oh, what was it? Major universities have Karl Marx are teaching Karl Marx in their economics department. I was like, "You don't say."
No, no, of course they
What?
are. You tell me.
Like,
They're
why
they're
wouldn't
teaching
you?
Karl Marx's economic theory and economics? Wow!
Go
Uh,
finish.
but but again, to the rubes,
I
it's
know.
it's like, "Oh my god," you know,
Yeah, it's
"Why do they have
communism. It's communism.
But I
they're
mean,
teaching Karl Marx. Oh,
in all
no."
seriousness, right? Going back to Carolyn's point about eroding education, right? So we have had this erosion of public education now, honestly, since Brown v. Board of Education. I believe that's when it started, when white
Yep.
people had to go to school with black people. That's when they started pulling out of public education. You see that continuing through the white flight in the urban in the 1960s and 70s. And then, right, so you diminish critical thinking skills, you diminish education in humanities history, not to mention also STEM. We're definitely falling behind in math and science as well.
Oh god, yeah.
Um, and then you have this like misinformation machine of social media unleashed on a populace. I mean, you might as well like run a Panzer tank over a village in Poland with no defenses. Like, what did we expect to happen? And I just look at this, and Fred, I talk to you about this so often, but it's like I believe that the Democrats will win the midterms. I have no fear about that. My fear is that the Democrats will return to business as usual rather
Mhm.
than being bold in their reforms. We need just billions, tax the billionaires, put it directly into public education. Done. Put it into infrastructure, into city colleges, into college scholarships, into human infrastructure, invested into the American people. And that's all we're talking about for reform. Just investing in the people who make this country, who live in this country, who vote for the populations, and who is supposed to be represented by this government. Right. But I think that I'm really worried that the Democrats, under the current leadership, I'm sorry, I have lost faith in Hakeem Jeffries and I never had faith in Chuck Schumer, are going to continue as business as usual. And if that happens, right, if the Democrats do not learn from their defeats, you know that MAGA will, because they
Mhm.
always do. And when they get into office next time, that's going to be a much bigger lift. That's going to be, I don't even want to say, but that's going
Yeah.
to be big. That's going to be a lot of sacrifices to get our freedom back if it's possible. So
Did you
it's,
guys see I mean, they come out with these periodically. The New York Times does a really good job with their focus groups, and they had one with the Democrats recently. And the answer to how do you feel about the Democratic Party, it won't surprise anybody. None of listeners will surprise either. But they all basically said that they were giant pussies. Like, they're weak, they're indecisive, they don't get things done. I mean, and remember, these are Democrats basically criticizing, and you don't see that MAGA. When they did the MAGA focus groups, they all said, "Yay, tariffs! We love taxes," and they just complimented Trump left and right. That's the difference with Democrats. We're very critical of our leaders, as we should be. But the problem is our criticism is landing, and it's true. Jeffrey, every time Schumer does this, I'm just like, oh man.
That was
I
like
I'm
just
going to
that was a
take on
really good
Trump. I'm going to
that
take on
that
MAGA.
Yeah, that was not a good Schumer.
that was like,
He's a
you guys are doing great, Schumer. Oh my god.
We should just do we should just interview each other as Schumer.
yeah, right. Like,
How do you think
I mean, you can, it's,
to Republicans today?
you know, it's, yeah, Miss, Mi- Mr. Senator Thune, you do not have the votes. All right, well, we'll just say mean things about you. you actually now have the votes. Oh no, somebody's going to say mean things about us in the paper. Let's roll over and just give up.
Yeah.
Like again, it's yeah. I think that is where we're fighting in on our side
Mhm.
is where is the Democratic Party going to go, and is there going to be something that replaces it? We've never really had a sort of like a coalescing thing like that. We said, okay, this is our fight. And the right has, because I mean, one, they had all the baked in, white patriarchy, all that stuff, and then they coalesced sort of around Reagan. I was hoping that Obama would be that for us, and that didn't really happen. And so right now we have the struggle between the corporatists and the progressives. You
Yeah.
know, because I think often we believe the height, like, because the right gets to frame so much of this talk, we always accept their framing. Like, we're the progressive party on no, we're not. We're not.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I mean,
the Democrats are not the progressive party. There is a progressive faction in the Democratic Party, but there's a bigger, it's getting smaller, but there is a bigger corporatist faction
Well,
that
yeah,
is the Democrats.
I think there's two things. I think there's two things at play, right? Like we're running, like Fred, you and I talked about inertia, right? And we're running off the inertia of the 1950s, where you have the American middle class, right? And you don't
Yeah.
want to like tip the boat. You don't want to rock the boat with the middle class, but the middle class is starting to understand that the Epstein class, right, is
Mhm.
taking them dry for money. And the
Yeah.
only reason that the corporate Democrats ever got anything was because the middle class Americans, middle class white male Americans liked the status quo the way it was. But again, like we're reaching the end of the sustainability of that model of politics, and I think we're really breaking through with this idea that the Epstein class is a parasitical class, and that
Mhm.
it can no longer be the controlling, right, the one pulling the strings of the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. And so I think I mean, the shift in rhetoric already from 2024 to right now is shocking to me. Like, AOC no longer is out there on her own. Her and Jasmine Crockett are surrounded by so many people, so many politicians on the national stage. I mean, Fred, I know, and I appreciate you have problems with Gavin Newsom, and I share them. I absolutely share them. But could you imagine Gavin Newsom tweeting today, give Americans their $170 billion back from the illegal tariffs in 2024? No, you couldn't. Is that because of Gavin's leadership? No, that's because more and more American people are understanding the billionaire class are the parasitical class, and they can no longer be the ones to control all of our politicians. So it's like, yeah, I'm really worried, but at the same time, I hope. I don't know. I don't play inside baseball. I don't know. But there are so many incredible, particularly women in Washington, who I hope are sort of creating a task force to take down the current leadership. We'll see, especially with Speaker Emeritus Pelosi's retirement this next term. I think that's really going to shake things up in Congress and the Senate in terms of leadership. So, yeah, it'll be interesting.
well, I got a question for you guys, loaded question. What do you say to people who say a woman can't run for president? She'll never win. We can't run a woman.
Go ahead, Fred.
Um, that I say, well, they said the same thing about, Barack Obama, that a black man couldn't be president, and yet it happened. And I think the challenge with a woman running for president is we have to be to a place where we're going to, smash the patriarchy, right? And I think, I look, because the first thing they're going to say is, well, there's Hillary Clinton, and we can get into all that, but it's not so. We have to get to a place where it is not about, optics are important and representation is important, but what's the message? I think that if we are at a place where a woman with the right message can win, because the problem, it's not the problem with women, it's the problem with the Democratic Party that's not going far enough and actually addressing something that is impactful and measurable and meaningful in people's lives. And we're at that place. We're at that place in our politics because to it's you have a parasitic class and then you have change.
Mm.
And we can't. I don't think we can't afford to go back to status quo. We just can't. And like that's my only thing with Gavin Newsom is I think he's a corporatist, but I also think he's a political animal. I think if there's enough of a movement, if there's enough of a movement behind him to push him in that direction, then yeah, he'll do it. But I think that I think it's just like any politician in this moment. I think we need a woman that's ready to push. I think Jasmine Crockett can win Texas.
I think Jasmine Crockett could win Texas. I absolutely think she could win Texas. I think she'll drive African American voter turnout to unknown levels. But in regard to can women run for president or can a woman win the presidency, it's a question I think about often, obviously. And, Michelle Obama, I don't have cause to disagree with her often, but she recently said that America is not ready for a female president. I actually don't think that's true. I think that our electoral system doesn't allow for women to be successful and is specifically designed to negate the voices of women and other marginalized people. And so in talking about what are the reforms that we need to push through? A lot of those are electoral reforms. And we need to stack the Supreme Court. We need to grant statehood to Puerto Rico if they want it. And we need to grant statehood to DC because we know they want it. Okay. So then when you have that electoral math that's changed, that it should be changed, then you have a female president right off the bat. Okay, then we need to abolish the Electoral College soon thereafter because it's a holdover from the slave owners wanting to control a majority of the political power in the United States, and we should probably let that system go. 250 years later, and however 150 years after the abolition of slavery, let's finally let that go. And then, of course, Fred knows that I am an evangelical for ranked choice voting, which I won't go into now. But if you don't know about it, find out. And so it's really, we live in a system that penalizes women, right? And right, we are asked to carry, when we run for office, we are handed a 30-pound sack of concrete and we're said, pour this out around your shoes and then start walking. And that's the you have to tread for you to get to elected office. Once we remove that concrete from around our shoes that we also have to carry and pour ourselves, I don't think America will have a problem electing a gay trans woman if she has the right, policy. It's just this political system in which we live that is the deterrent from people having a government that actually represents them, regardless of the gender of the occupant of the Oval Office. I mean, look at the turd we have now. He doesn't represent anyone but the Epstein class, and yet he's there. How is that possible? The system was designed to put people like him in that place.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Carolyn? Do you think a woman can win the presidency?
Well, you guys touched everything I love to hear, but the one area you didn't touch, I'd like to see Citizens United overturned. We need to get the super PACs and the money out of, because Larissa's point that it's structurally, it's designed for identity politics, basically. The fact of the matter is, you look at the number of CEOs that are men. I mean, the people at the top are men. So, of course, they're going to be putting money into candidates that support their agenda. And as soon as you overturn Citizens United and get the money. I mean, other countries have done it. What was it? New Zealand did it? What was it? New Zealand? They've got the money out of their politics. Until we do that,
Australia.
We won't.
It was
Australia.
Yeah.
Thank you. Until we do that, we're not going to have elections that are run based on policies. They'll be run on identity.
There was so this is a bit anecdotal. So this is back in 2008. and they were doing it. It was a transcript, they were recording calls and everything else, and it kind of made its way around in organizing circles I was in. And it was a call into Gate City, Virginia. And they were doing sort of like surveys to see, in this area who'd vote for whatever. And again, they're calling into like Southwest Virginia, so it's a very red district. And they're saying, "Hey, will you vote for Obama?" And, da da da. And they're making the pitch for Obama. And the guy just says, "Let me cut you off there. Let's save your breath, Sonny. I'm voting for the N-word." Right? And so to the people who were saying in the comments, like, "Oh, it's too, she can't win, it's like da da da. It's too racist. It's too misogynistic." When things get bad enough and they get horrible enough, because those values they're based in like hatred and weakness, they go out the window. And they're like, "Well, we'll vote in the woman to fix it. We'll go back to it later, but we'll vote in to fix it."
Well, and
Right.
famously, right, the Democrats have always been, and I think actually the Democrats might want to run a woman this time, because
I think
they
so.
always are. When America has a mommy problem, they run to the Democrats.
That's
When things are bad, they want their mommy. They want the Democrats. When things are good, they want to be strong. They want their daddies. That's the Republicans. That's the child rapists, the daddy Republicans. So,
Yes.
I think in terms of optics, again, Fred definitely having the right message. But if there's like a progressive woman who has a great message, let me come up with Hemsworth, Hillary Clinton.
And the message be, who's your mommy, America? I like that. Who's your mama, America?
Well, I mean, think about Mamdani's win in New York, and I know it's New York, but
Yeah.
I mean, he like destroyed, what's his face?
Oh no.
Yeah, there
no.
you go. But again, I mean, and he had like because the thing is the right does not
Also,
have
Rich was voting in New York, Fred. Anyway.
Well, there you go. I mean, yeah, but the right really doesn't have a coalition anymore.
Yeah.
And there's no, and they because of I think why the moment might be right for a woman is because they are specifically shutting off anyone who is not white, male, Christian.
Yeah.
Like
Upper class.
they're going almost damn near Anglo-Saxon, right? That old-timey,
Old-timey.
racism. Yeah, I mean, they're going that far. And so they're telling Hispanic and Latino voters, nope. They're telling, log cabin Republicans, nope. They're absolutely telling women no.
Yeah.
With the SAVE Act and everything else they're doing.
Married women.
Yeah,
That's
married women.
How stupid could you be? How stupid could you be? Okay, it's like white married women who change their names, right? Like, let me just, and this is me. Like, I changed my name. Let me just like put all my chips in on, traditional values and do what I'm told to do because you told me to do it. And then they come back and they say, "Great, thank you so much. We're going to take away your vote because you did what you were asked."
Yeah.
I mean, if the Democrats can't message that to every soccer mom who wanted cheaper eggs, then they need to get the out of professional politics, because that is absurd. The SAVE Act, and we talked about this before, Fred, but the SAVE Act has got to be the Republicans' Achilles heel. I mean, women are the difference every time. If men were the only voters in the United States, the Republican Party would be the left-wing party. If women were the only voters, the Democrats would be the right-wing party. Like, and if we can just get 5% more of women to either get off their asses and get to the voting booth or switch sides, that's now a landslide. And the SAVE Act gives us that opportunity. And I don't know. I haven't. I mean, I pay attention, but I think they're doing a good job, but I'm seeing what I want to see. You know what I mean? So I'm curious to see if you guys have any other opinions about how the Democrats are messaging SAVE Act.
I'm going to do a hot take.
I'll
do a hot take real quick, and then I'm going to toss it to Carolyn. Here's my hot take, and you can write it down and see if I'm right. I think that in 2028, AOC is going to be surprise, come from behind candidate, like seemingly out of nowhere, and do and have an Obama rise in the primaries. That's my prediction, because she has the right balance of intelligence and just righteous anger and charisma. And she's going to run. I mean, that's why she went to Munich. That's why she went to the security conference. She's going to run, and a lot of people are going to underestimate her, and she's going to hand them their ass on Super Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's my prediction.
Have you seen her? She's taken classes on how to speak at the podium as a politician, which is like, she has all the hand movements, which to me, I mean, she's always been serious, but she's getting serious, I think, Fred, about making a statewide run. I really hope she's going to take on Chuck Schumer soon. And then I don't know if it's going to be 2028 or 2032, but I don't doubt that she'll run for the presidency, because
she's going to go for it. I think maybe not 2028, but I mean, if she did in 2028, I think by the time we get to the end of this madness, we're going to be ready.
I think in terms of demographic shifts, I think she'd do better in 2032. And I wouldn't want to see her scuttle her chances in 2032 by doing it in 2028. That's my only criticism of your hot take.
That's fine. But Carolyn, you were going to talk about the SAVE Act. Last word for you.
I was just going to mention, because I don't see this being reported on a lot. There is a provision that they put into the SAVE Act that basically pushes the expense of giving the voter rolls to the feds onto the states, and just running the numbers of it, of how much IT dollars it's going to cost. It is a tremendous strain to the states. I mean, what we need to be stressing always is that a lot of these policies, we pay for them. That's our tax dollars. So I thought about running the math on, because there's 50 cases of immigrants voting throughout federal. It's ridiculously low. It's so low, it's laughable.
Over decades.
Yes, for decades. And their argument is kind of circuitous, because their argument is that we need the SAVE Act for voting integrity, which is just blows my mind, because Donald Trump is the candidate who destroys voting integrity. But if we're going to have voter integrity, the cost of that, to push it to the states, you're basically spending hundreds and thousands of dollars for 50 immigrants who vote. If you break out the cost of each person who illegally votes, it's ridiculous. And then you ask the question, is this the best use of our tax dollars? And I feel like Democrats are very poor at that, always asking, the kitchen table economy questions. How much are your groceries costing? How much is your healthcare costing? I mean, my healthcare costs have gone through the roof. So,
oh God.
And it's funny, because people didn't care about healthcare in the beginning of 2025. It wasn't polling that high. Now people care. People see their premiums going up, copays, prescriptions. Those two, I pick up my dad's $2 prescriptions. He voted for Trump, but now he's come around, and I'm always like, here, $80. Pay for this. You voted for this asshole.
I think that's a lot of his voters,
Yeah.
But again, I just want to go back to this, because the Democrats actually have to enact change. It can't just be, Schumer and Hakeem and Jeffries being we'll just sit back and wait for them to screw up. No, you need to have a plan, because they have a plan. It's called Project 2025, now Project 2026. What's our Project 2028? What's our plan? And I actually haven't seen that come out of the Dems yet. So if there's any Democratic strategists or staffers listening in, could you get on that? Make a 5-year plan for us. We need it.
Actually have a party that wants to go after the opposite, be an opposition party. Just do that. Start there.
Yeah.
And if you're too timid or you're too compromised, just get out of the way.
Or just go fucking Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall movies from World War II. Like, just start there. That's how I learned. You can too.
Speaking of premiums, no, I'm feeling it because my mother's in a memory care unit, and she's getting she's got dental work that is like 30 years old, and it's metal, right? And so now she has to get we had to get her 2 crowns last year, and now they're thinking she might need 6. And just the 2 crowns we have to get her, that price, and she has insurance, dental insurance. That price doubled from last year to this year. And so now we're like, okay, we're gonna have to figure out a way to pay for that. So that's gonna come out of like the home improvement budget and here, and we can't go on vacation. And that's the downline effects of this is like, oh, okay, well, we have to pay for this, so I can't pay for this other thing.
Yeah.
And it's I do, but it's that it is like you don't see that often enough.
Right. And I gotta go, but I want to leave with this. Like, okay, Trump tariffs were declared illegal by the Supreme Court today. Shock and awe. Okay, that aside, over 1,000 companies are now suing to get their money back. Where's my money? Where's my money? I'm the one who paid this. I'm the one who shelled out $1,500 extra last year for his legal tariffs. And these companies are going to get reimbursed, but the American people aren't. Like, let's have a civil lawsuit for that. Let's get that going, Dems. Get our money back. Send me a $1,500 check with, Chuck Schumer's signature on it, and maybe we can be friends again. But until I see that kind of messaging, we got to keep pushing.
I know.
That's all I gotta say.
Like, we can pass the digital hat around and see, like, if we can get Mark Elias to kind of like, bro, can you take this one too? Like, can you like class action lawsuit for like, just put like America.
America. Asking for 340 million people.
It's like, yeah, bro, we kind of want our money back, and I will say, do not put. We got to put in a provision where Trump cannot put his name on the check.
Although if we have an ad for it, okay, here's some Xennial Gen X. Remember in Say Anything, where that guy is like, where the newspaper guy is riding, a newspaper delivery boy is riding around his bike chasing John Cusack. He's like, where's my $2?
$2. Yeah. If you're better off dead.
Where's my tariff money?
I would want for that, and that, I would want the check just to be like the smiling Obama. I want his face on the check.
Oh, that would
to make Trump do that,
All right, I gotta go. So great being on with you guys. Thank you. Better off dead. Noble Blend is right. It's better off dead. Not say anything. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Larissa. It was a great one. I appreciate you both. Thank you for everybody showing up. I'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.